Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
From wind chills to whiteouts to another weekend winter storm, we've got plenty of weather headaches to get through in just the next several days.
You'll remember the name David Madrigal, a firefighter who was murdered inside of his own home today. One of 3 defendants in that case was sentenced for his murder.
All right, Nick, but we're going to begin Local 4 News at 5 with charges in the shooting death of a Detroit boy.
A grandmother and her 14-year-old grandson are now charged with manslaughter. That 58-year-old grandmother is facing a 15-year felony for not keeping her revolver secured from the teen grandsons that lived with her.
And one of those boys is now officially charged in the shooting death of a 13-year-old friend. Guy Gordon following the story. It would seem clear here, Guy, that law enforcement is sending a pretty stern message.
You bet they are, Devin and Kimberly. They're saying, look, we understand that this grandmother took some steps to try to secure that weapon, but they were tragically weak. It led to the death of a young man. And what they're saying now is, if you want to secure your gun and avoid criminal responsibility, then you got to do more than just lock your bedroom door.
Count 1, homicide, involuntary manslaughter. That's a 15-year felony.
Prosecutors say the gun was hidden on the floor under a dresser, bullets hidden elsewhere. But the bedroom lock was flimsy, and she was aware her teen grandsons knew the location of the weapon and the bullets.
If you're an irresponsible gun owner and tragedy happens, you should know that we will arrest you and we will pursue charges.
58-year-old Lise Cox is charged with involuntary manslaughter, grossly negligent storage of a firearm resulting in death. Also 2 counts of second-degree child abuse for leaving the kids alone with the gun, and felony firearm.
Plead not guilty is entered in your behalf.
EJ's parents want her held accountable.
I want my wife to have closure, you know, without it being no more drama or no more fighting.
The 14-year-old grandson is charged as a juvenile, manslaughter. Prosecutors suggesting it was accidental, that he intended to aim the gun at EJ, but did not fire with malice. EJ Watkins was a standout for the Detroit City chess team. He was struck in the back and died within minutes.
It took a big chunk out of us, and I miss my son.
EJ is going to be buried on December 20th. His family is having trouble with the funeral expenses. There is a GoFundMe page. We put a link to that on our website at clickondetroit.com. Now, Lise Cox family say that, look, this is a responsible woman. This is a woman that took in those 2 grandsons because her daughter-in-law couldn't handle them, that she has tried to do the right thing. Nevertheless, she is still behind bars tonight on a $7,500 10% bond, and so is her grandson. We're live from 36th District Court. I'm Guy Gordon, Local 4. Devin and Kimberly back here.
And Guy, from the remarks we just heard from Police Chief Craig, he clearly thinks there was a lot more she needed to do.
It's really simple, Devin. If you own a gun, he's saying put a trigger lock on it. It's a federal law now that if a federally licensed firearms dealer sells you a gun, he must offer a commercially available trigger lock as well to secure that weapon. Or you can do what cops do. There are small firearms safes that you can buy. They're digitally operated, keeps your gun secure, but easily accessible for when you need it. Everybody agrees that something has got to be done.
All right, Guy Gordon reporting for us live out in a very cold, gray afternoon, and I don't think we can get around it. Winter is definitely here and fierce now.
You're right. It's hard to warm up from coming outside oftentimes. We're dealing with frigid temperatures, and now Ben's tracking even more snow, Ben, for the weekend?
Yeah, and this is really only in half the area right now, but this is enough to really be putting a big problem into the afternoon commute in some spots. You can see these snow bands, very intense, but they're fairly narrow across our northern half of the area. So especially that trek from on 23 between Fenton down to Heartland, and then again maybe on 75 south of Holly towards Auburn Hills, you're going to be impacted by that. And we're talking about visibilities. They go down below a mile in just a very small area. We've dealt with these before, but because the southern half of the area is not seeing anything, a lot of folks, especially if you're working in the city or somewhere heading in that direction, you might not be aware those are up there. So take some extra time as you head home tonight. Eventually, those snow bands will start settling a little bit further south, and places that are dry right now will get them. Temperatures, of course, the other story. We're going to 12 above for an air temperature by midnight, but wind chills will be negative most of the night. We'll take a look at how it's going to feel as we step outside for your morning commute, and that's in your 4-zone forecast, all coming up in a few minutes. Guys?
Okay, Ben. A Macomb County woman is likely to face charges after police say she lied about being abducted at gunpoint in Chesterfield Township. The New Baltimore woman told police she was abducted and robbed last night at a liquor store on 23 Mile right by I-94. Only police say the woman made up the story and that it never happened. They plan to seek charges against her for filing a false report. On Detroit's west side, an 18-year-old woman is recovering after she was shot in her sleep.
This happened at this home on Forer Street near Greenfield and Schoolcraft on the west side. Officers say a gunman fired shots into the home, hitting the woman in both of her legs. The homeowner tells us this is the second time this house has been hit in a matter of days.
My son, he thinks that talking to the police is snitching. I said, that's not snitching. You got some bad people out there, you need to get them off the street. This is what I told my son.
Fortunately, the woman is expected to be okay, but so far there have been no arrests. One of the 3 people accused of murdering Detroit firefighter David Madrigal last year was sentenced to prison today.
Timmy Soto pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 40 to 67 years in prison, and as Nick Monticelli reports, right before that sentence was handed down, Madrigal's family had some choice words.
Okay, thank you. A society that doesn't have very high regard for first responders, firefighters, police officers, EMS technicians, nurses, is a society that's on a path to self-destruction.
In a way, Judge Michael Callahan set the tone in court today as 32-year-old Timmy Soto was sentenced for killing David Madrigal, a Detroit firefighter who served this city for 25 years.
We miss him, his friends, his family, the city, the community of Southwest Detroit. He loved the children there. They looked up to him. He loved showing them the fire truck.
In court, Madrigal's daughter spoke of her special bond with Super Dave and how Tim Soto's family can still see him in prison.
But I don't get to see my dad ever again. I get to see pictures and I get to remember all the good times we had together, but I don't get to ever see him again.
The murder was in December of last year. Prosecutors believe these 3 are behind it: Tim Soto, Nicole O'Neill, and Christian Rasnick. No one really knows the motive for the murder, but a safe was stolen with $1,000 inside. Soto took a deal and pled guilty to second-degree murder. All he said in court was he's sorry.
I apologize to the family for what I did. I know I was wrong. I wasn't in the right state of mind.
But that apology meant little to the family, especially his son.
I hope that this animal over here doesn't last a week, and I don't see like him lasting a week.
As for the other defendants, Rasnick took a similar plea deal. He'll be back in court in the same courtroom tomorrow for his sentencing. O'Neill is expected to start her trial in March. At the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
All right, Nick. Well, both of Madrigal's kids made it a point to say how much their father loved Detroit. He was born and reared here, still lived and worked here. He often spent free time taking fire engines and showing them to the children in Southwest Detroit.
Now to a story we've been following out of New York, a massive fire at the NYU Langone Medical Center in Midtown Manhattan. Firefighters got the call shortly after noon. As you see here, flame sent smoke billowing through the streets, though no immediate reports of injuries. Firefighters did struggle to bring the 2-alarm fire under control, and the city issued an alert urging people who live and work in that area to shut their windows for a time. Secretary of State's office in Redford Township closed for the day after a U-Haul truck slammed into the front of the building.
It happened early this morning at the intersection of Beach Daily and Joy Road. You can see here almost the entire front end of the building was damaged in that crash. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. No word if the office will be open tomorrow. Well, there's at least one weekend coming up that you don't have to spend winter hibernating inside.
The Meridian Winter Blast returning to Campus Martius Park next month. There'll be plenty of winter activities along with live entertainment, lots of great local food for the whole family to enjoy, and it is now slated for the weekend of January 20th through the 22nd.
We've got some positive changes to the event this year, including a new partner. So we've partnered this year with the North America International Auto Show of 2017, which is an exciting time to bring folks both locally and from the other communities in to experience why we love Detroit so much.
The other new additions include a 30 by 40 foot family-friendly Bedrock Ice Maze and the ultimate chill-out destination, the Bedrock Ice Bar. Let's go with coffee instead of something cold
I
while
think
you're there.
so. My goodness.
But pretty good, too, to go to the auto show and then go hang out on campus.
Absolutely. It'd be nice to put those two in tandem.
Yeah, like
Yep.
that.
Mhm.
Detroit's top cop lashing out at judges.
Simply making a threat against a police officer, to kill a police officer, is a threat against all of us.
Ahead here at 5, what has Chief James Craig so upset?
Also, you can't drive across it alone right now. Why the Mackinac Bridge is taking a rather extreme precaution at the moment. Jason.
Nobody wants to be outside working today, but some people have no choice. We're going to check in on some of the toughest jobs to work on a day like this. That's coming up.
Tonight, new at 6.
We're in Macomb Township tonight, detailing a rather filthy problem. New homes going up in a subdivision, lots of construction here, but there's a problem with the mail. People living here finding their mail in this thing, a porta potty down there. And we're talking hundreds of pieces of mail. Coming up on Local 4, we'll tell you who's responsible and what the postal inspector is saying about this.
Okay, Sean, can't wait for that one. Plus, their little girl suffered serious burns, but police say this couple decided not to take her to the hospital. New at 6, the criminal charges they're now facing.
Kind of hard to believe after the fall that we had, which was so balmy and nice, but now we're at the point where we're seeing single digits on the weather graphics, and here they are.
That's right. So for folks who have to work out in the cold, it's really time to bundle up. That includes our Jason Colthorpe, who's live tonight. And Jason, how many layers are you wearing right now? I love that face.
That's just because my lips are numb. Sorry. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 layers on upstairs. Downstairs, I should have thought that out a little bit more, but that's probably not a conversation for TV. Layering up is step one for a lot of these guys when you're working outside. Just take a look at what some guys endured today. Around Metro Detroit, not everyone able to stay inside, which makes it tough to keep your dogs hot. Some of the guys working construction have it down to a science, though.
We've been doing 17 below zero before out in the winter. It's no different. Just dressing layers, and it's just the weather.
From breaking concrete to breaking your tools.
I went to do a squeegee pull, and it's so cold that my pull broke here. It's a plastic fitting, and it just snapped as I was pulling down on the thing. It's pretty crazy considering how cold it is.
And working with lots of water is even tougher. But the guys at Celebrity Car Wash are doing their best in sub-zero wind chills.
It's very treacherous. It's like, man, it's a pain trying to keep your hands warm. That cold water, cold air mixed in together. It's hell.
Our temperature reader shows just how cold things like door handles and parking meters are today. So what's good about the cold? Yes. How about an ice-cold beer on an ice-cold day?
It's cold out here, warm in there. I'm going up and down stairs. I'm, toting kegs in and cases, empties out. So I'm sweating underneath, but I'm freezing everywhere else.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm not sweating anywhere underneath at the moment, but a lot of guys, get out there and you're doing a lot of stuff out there. And this is how the cold's affecting. Our other microphone kind of was cutting out. The cold is just affecting everything today. And, of course, tomorrow doesn't seem to be any better. And I do have to say, along the way today, we asked a lot of guys, what would your least favorite job be? A lot of people said construction worker or anything to do with water. I did see a guy riding around in the bucket of the bucket truck from light pole to light pole downtown, and I thought that might be the worst. Reporting live, just barely, Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Easy there,
That's
Jason.
tough in the bucket. And the beer guy, I hadn't thought of, he's working, when you're working up a sweat and you're freezing cold.
Exactly. But we should say, though,
Beer
Jason,
stayed cold all on its own.
Yeah.
Right. At least, though, you can go into the truck and get warmed up a little bit. That's what I always enjoyed when I was out in the field.
Said the woman in the nice warm studio.
I've been out there, so I know.
All we do is just grab the grab the hats, grab the gloves. Thank you, Vic. Thank you very much.
All right, Jason.
Jason, thank you.
Oh, Ben, it is it's fierce right now, isn't it?
It is, and you know, we haven't gotten to the worst of it. That's coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if this is bad enough, you may want to stay inside all you can in the next 24 to 36 hours. Current temperatures 17 above right now, but not what's going on here. I want to show you what's over the lake, because air temperatures over here, single digits, got the big goose egg in Duluth. Look at these wind chills, which is really one of our warmest parts of the day. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon over there in the central time zone. 14 below in the Twin Cities. Duluth's at 20 below. We're marginally better, just barely into positive territory here at 1 above. And once those wind chills go negative tonight, you'll see in our 4-zone forecast, they've got a ways to drop. The wind gusts out here are a lot more fierce than what we're dealing with. 35 miles an hour in Chicago at O'Hare, 30 at Milwaukee, Dubuque out there is 36. And those winds will start translating a little bit further off to the east as we get into tonight. So we're not going to see much of a drop off in wind speeds. In fact, they may actually pick up a bit as we get to the overnight hours. The bands of snow that have been setting up north of Detroit gradually will start settling south as the wind direction pivots just a little bit. It'll go west and then eventually a little bit more of a west-northwest direction. So that should take those snow bands down south of Detroit and into our southern half of the area, which is not seeing much snow at all right now. Then the story, are you done with us yet? Because I've got more to go. But then the story as we get into the weekend is the next winter storm, and you'll see that develop. Thursday's dry. Friday we could be seeing some inconsequential snow early in the afternoon, but once we get close to sunset, that's when these bands start setting up north of a warm front, and we're going to see that continue through Saturday. But warmer temperatures creep in, and that makes Saturday's forecast very tricky. So what we're showing you here is the amount of total moisture in this storm. Obviously, if this is all snow and we had a 10-to-1 ratio or even a 12-to-1 ratio, we'd be looking at a half foot here in Detroit, even higher amounts north. But this is going to be impacted by some rain and some mix. So that's why totals are a little difficult to nail down. I think it's safe to say at least the northern sections of the area will see half a foot before that rain starts coming in as we get into Saturday. Got to breathe. Here are the wind chills for tonight as we look at your 4-zone forecast. 10 below, and this is when we wake up tomorrow morning. 11 below in Troy. South zone wind chills really not much better. About 8 below in Lambertville and Luna Pier out towards Lake Erie. Slightly milder, if that is indeed a word here, but west zone numbers. Look at this. 12 below in Flint, 16 below in Fenton. Milford, you'll wake up to 16 below tomorrow morning, and it will feel very similar across most of our north zones. 16 below across Lapeer, Sanilac counties, and not much better down here towards M59. So as we look at your forecast tonight, expect those snow squalls again to move south before they diminish. Overnight lows on the thermometer say 6, but nobody cares about that because it's going to feel like it's 16 below, at least north of the city. 14 above for that high temperature tomorrow. Wind chills will stay below 0. Then we've got that winter storm to be shoveling out on Saturday, and it is going to be a slushy mess by the time it's done because there will be considerable snow before that rain and mix come in late.
But bookended by really, really cold weather again.
Even worse next week.
On the other side, yeah.
Goodness.
All right, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Well, still trying to find the perfect present for the kids on your shopping list. Coming up, Dr. McGeorge shows you the best sneaky educational toys your kids won't ever even notice if they're learning.
Don't let them know. But first, stories from across Michigan, including the $1 million scam this guy's accused of almost getting away with. And that is next. Karen.
It's devastating. It's totally devastating.
A father's gravesite robbed, his family heartbroken.
How low could you be?
Why they believe someone planned to steal from them. Tomorrow, starting at 5.
Looking to
Across Michigan this Monday, it's not Monday, is it?
No, it's Wednesday. Let's move on to Wednesday.
Okay, we're following stories from Jenison near Grand Rapids and Chester Township.
Let's start in Mackinac City, or actually the stretch between Mackinac City and Imlay City, and that's where the Mackinac Bridge Authority has issued a wind escort for certain vehicles as strong winds blowing across the area. So vehicles include pickup trucks with campers, cars that are pulling a boat or anything attached to the roof, along with semi-trucks and trailers and U-Haul trucks. Drivers also asked to slow down as they approach the bridge and be prepared to stop. The bridge may be icy, so drivers have to use caution while making their way across it. But any of those earlier mentioned vehicles have to have somebody have to have an escort in the vehicle with them to balance out the weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, in Jenison, a man is facing prison time after pleading no contest to charges linked to a $1 million Ponzi scheme. 45-year-old Scott Ruckus here was originally charged back in 2015 after his investment company, New Haven Holdings, filed for bankruptcy. Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette says Ruckus took money from seniors on fixed incomes and used it to pay off tax debts and send his children to private school. Ruckus faces up to 20 years behind bars. In Ottawa County, 4 men will have to pay nearly $6,000 in fines after baiting and killing close to 60 ducks.
Conservation officers say this is one of the worst poaching cases they've ever seen. Happened back in October at this pond in Chester Township. Officers say the men threw corn into the water and along the water's edge before shooting 58 ducks. The 4 are going to spend 18 months on probation. If they should violate that, that would mean up to 3 months behind bars.
New at 5:30.
Survivors tell their story. Gut-wrenching testimony in the South Carolina church massacre trial as chilling new video of the shooter is released.
Donald Trump meets today with America's high-tech leaders, many of whom backed Hillary Clinton. While Democrats here in Washington charge Trump has a conflict right on Pennsylvania Avenue.
A Detroit judge is responding after Chief Craig criticized her decision to dismiss terrorism charges against a man accused of threatening Detroit police. We'll tell you what both sides have to say.
It's dinner time. Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
Detroit's top lawman outraged and speaking out why he's taking aim at Wayne County judges, saying they don't support the force. It tops our news at 5:30. James Craig seldom minces words, and today he stayed true to that reputation when it comes to charges being dropped against a man charged with spray painting threats against police on a building.
Now, just yesterday, a judge dropped a terrorism charge against this man, Stuart Lewis, saying spray painting the words "Kill all police" did not reach the level of a terrorist threat. Priya Mann is live tonight. And Priya, the chief is not happy about this.
That's right. The chief says he's concerned that this decision may only empower someone who wants to act violently toward police. Well, we spoke to the judge and she disagreed, saying she doesn't believe her decision would have any impact on someone who wants to hurt a police officer.
What makes Macomb and Oakland County different from Wayne County?
Detroit Police Chief James Craig criticized Judge Deborah Lewis Langston after the judge dismissed terrorism charges against a man accused of threatening police.
Certainly has an effect of empowering a suspect who says, I can threaten the police chief, I can threaten police officers, because there'll be no response.
In October, it was alleged 43-year-old Stuart Lewis spray painted this on a building near his home at Exeter and West State Fair. He was charged with a threat of terrorism. On Tuesday, that charge was dismissed.
Judge Langston, an 18-year member of the bench, missed an opportunity to send a unified message that threats against police officers will not be tolerated.
I didn't want to dismiss as a human being. I didn't want to dismiss as a resident of Detroit who has great respect for the police, but I had to dismiss to maintain my integrity as a judge.
Judge Langston says the evidence presented did not meet the criteria of a terrorism charge and is defending her decision.
I'm not here to rubber stamp or do the bidding of the police or the defense bar. That's not my job. I sit and I listen and make my opinion based on the law and the facts as I hear them.
Well, the chief says he's concerned for the safety of his officers if they have any potential future interactions with Lewis. At this time, Lewis remains behind bars. When he is released, he will be required to wear a GPS tether. Reporting live from DPD headquarters, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Priya, I wonder that Chief Craig was obviously very critical of the judge. Is he saying anything about Kim Worthy's office or the prosecuting attorney on how the case was handled?
He actually praised the prosecutor, saying she spent about 45 minutes arguing the merits of this case, why this terrorism charge should be bound over. He praised the prosecutor's office and does hope they will appeal.
All right. Thank you very much. Priya Mann, live tonight.
Over here with Ben now. The story is only partly how cold it is. It's how cold it's going to be. Going to get even colder.
You walk outside and you think, okay, I'm done. But then you've got to prepare for tomorrow, which is not going to be fun. But tonight we've got snow showers, and this is going to make driving home a little bit tough, especially north of Detroit. We've been watching multiple bands of snow looks like now these are starting to congeal into one or two major bands. So let's start out first over into Livingston County. This one's sinking just south of Howell right now, and you can see those dark blue shades. In fact, right here from 96 back to the Livingston-Oakland County line that's cutting across 23. Those dark shades are coming down at a rate of 2 inches an hour. They are moving, so they're not going to dump that, but nevertheless, there's going to be some minor accumulations here. Then you get over into Oakland County, and it looks like south of 59, that band is starting to move through a little bit lighter as you head out towards 75, towards Auburn Hills. And then there's another one, very thin one here on the northern end of Macomb County, south of 69. And again, visibilities could get down to a quarter mile within these bands. South of Detroit, south of 8 Mile, there's nothing going on right now, but the beginnings of this band starting to move towards Ann Arbor have already begun. Likely we will be seeing these move south. We'll track that, and of course your wind chill forecast and what's to come for this weekend. That's when we get the shovels out, all coming up in a few minutes, Karen.
Mistrial declared in the Dalio Dippolito trial after the jury deadlocks. The jury had to decide if Dippolito was guilty of trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband, but they could not reach an agreement. At a 2011 trial, Dippolito was convicted and then sentenced to 20 years in prison. The state appeals court granted her a new trial because of a problem with jury selection. The case became famous when it was shown on the television show Cops. Prosecutors say they will try the case a third time.
Dramatic testimony today from one of the survivors of the church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina that left 9 members of a Bible study group dead.
Steve Garagiola joins us now tonight, and the jury could get the case by the end of the week.
Yeah, and they may not need very long to decide this case. This was a very dramatic day. That decision, especially after this video. It was shown in court today, Dylan Roof practicing shooting. And then this afternoon, a woman who survived the shooting testified. She was the final witness. Then prosecutors rested their case against the accused shooter. The federal jury hearing the case against confessed Charleston church shooter Dylan Roof will soon begin deliberating his guilt or innocence. The government rested its case Wednesday morning. Minutes later, as expected, so did the defense. That followed dramatic testimony from the government's final witness, shooting survivor Polly Shepard. She was the woman who Roof deliberately allowed to live, which she spoke about earlier this year with Charleston affiliate WCBD.
Sometimes I feel guilty. All of these people are gone and I'm still here. But I know God has me here for a reason.
During tearful testimony Wednesday, Shepard refused to refer to Roof by name. The 911 call that Shepard made moments after the shooting began was played. A forensic pathologist also testified on Wednesday that a total of 59 shots hit the 9 victims.
We all know I'm guilty.
Roof confessed to FBI investigators to the June 2015 shooting, so the defense put up no witnesses. The jury returns Thursday morning for closing arguments and possibly to start deliberating as early as Thursday afternoon. It was no surprise to anyone that the defense did not put up any witnesses in the trial. They will instead focus on the penalty phase because Roof could be sentenced to death if found guilty. Devin, Karen, back to you.
Steve. Controversial signs could soon be seen in public restrooms in Oklahoma.
Hospitals, nursing homes, restaurants, and public schools could be required to post pro-life signs inside public restrooms under a proposal being considered by the state legislature. It is part of a push to cut the number of abortions in that state. The signs would have to be posted in places with public restrooms licensed by the State Department of Health.
Obviously, the health department as well does not have the funding. Funding was not made available to have these signs produced. And so the only way to make that legislative act effective moving forward would be to pass that cost on to the regulated community.
Those faced with the price tag say it's unfair to burden them with that cost. Some estimate a $2 million price tag for businesses. The bill's sponsor insists there is confusion. She says it is a voluntary public information campaign.
Today in New York, the president-elect hosted a summit with the CEOs of some of the world's largest tech companies to pledge his cooperation with Silicon Valley. All this happening amid concerns over Trump's own business ties. Steve Handelsman is at the Capitol tonight with more. Steve?
Devin, thanks. Many of the leaders of Silicon Valley questioned Donald Trump's fitness to be president. But now that he's won, they want his ear, and he says they have it. Jeff Bezos of Amazon came to Trump Tower. Eric Schmidt and Larry Page of Google. Cook of Apple, Musk of Tesla, Katz of Oracle, tech CEOs, many of whom backed Hillary Clinton, welcomed by President-elect Trump.
I'm here to help you folks do well. We're going to be there for you, and you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command.
The CEOs worry Trump will cut back work visas for the tech-savvy immigrants that Silicon Valley counts on. Peter Thiel of Facebook and others are advising Trump. Cybersecurity is one issue, and its links to Vladimir Putin. Still, Rex Tillerson could overcome his ties to Putin and his ExxonMobil job and win confirmation.
It's very hard to see the CEO of a big oil conglomerate as Secretary of State, but we'll see. He may surprise us all.
Democrats charge Trump as a CEO has a conflict in Washington. His new hotel, where foreign diplomats and businessmen admit they're going to curry favor with Trump. Not legal, say Democrats.
Every one of those dollars that hits the hotel come January 20th will be in violation of the United States Constitution.
Trump, they say, must cash out of his entire business. But the president-elect has delayed disclosing exactly all that he owns and coming up with a plan to avoid conflicts between what's good for the Trumps and what's good for the nation. In Washington, Steve Handelsman, Local 4.
Okay, Steve, also today we've talked about the speculation of it for several days, and it's now official. Donald Trump has picked the chair of the Michigan GOP, Ronna Romney McDaniel, as his choice for the chair of the Republican National Committee.
It happened in the middle of the ocean. No one witnessed it, but its effects could be devastating.
What scientists discovered that's now set a world record for all the wrong reasons in a minute.
And it only took a matter of seconds what these masked men did inside an Apple store that workers initially thought was a joke.
Still searching for gifts for the kids on your shopping list? I'm Dr. Frank McGeorge. Coming up, we go shopping for the best sneaky educational toys. They're so much fun, kids won't even realize they're learning.
Visit Varsity.
New at 6.
When a child is abducted and seconds of the difference between life and death, Amber Alerts really make a difference. We'll show you changes coming to the program that should even boost their effectiveness more.
The lawn job was just the beginning of the trouble at this local home, because next came the paint job. New at 6, the reason police think this vandal picked this particular house.
Got some news for you in good health today if you're still trying to find the perfect present for the kids on your shopping list.
Oh, there's still much to do. So tonight we are taking a look at the toys that also help teach. But there is a twist. Our Dr. Frank McGeorge is here to explain. Hi, Doc.
Hey, Karen and Devin. You know, the problem with educational toys is they often end up sitting untouched because either they're not much fun or kids just don't like the idea of being forced into learning when they frankly want to be playing. So we set out to find the sneaky educational toys, ones that are so much fun, kids won't even notice how much they're learning. At the Doll Hospital and Toy Soldier Shop in Berkeley, the options are seemingly endless. So we asked Dr. Stephanie Hines, a developmental and behavioral pediatrician at Beaumont Children's Hospital, to shop the shelves with education in mind. For babies aged 6 to 12 months, she loves stacking toys.
They're exploring with their hands, they're figuring out how things fit together.
For 18 to 24 months, building toys with more shapes, more pieces, and more options.
There's a little bit more color to them, and there's more to kind of do here too in terms of taking apart and manipulating and putting back together.
For toddlers and preschoolers, Hines says a train table is right on track for practicing eye-hand coordination and playing with others, but resist the urge to glue down the tracks.
Part of the play here is the creativity. It's the taking apart, it's the putting back together again.
For early elementary kids, it's all about building, from magnet tiles to marble runs.
It can be taken apart, it can be put back together again.
Hines loves Lincoln Logs, but to increase the problem-solving potential, she suggests Kiva planks.
These are just solid wooden planks. There's no grooves set into them, so it takes a little bit more in terms of being creative.
She's also a big fan of Kaleido gears. For late elementary to middle school, Lego building sets offer big benefits.
But you have to follow visual instructions. It's not written instructions, but visual instructions.
For teens, there are more sophisticated sets that teach patience and problem solving.
You can't learn that from flashcards.
Hines is also a fan of games. For younger kids, the classic Candyland.
What kids are learning there is how to take turns, how to play in a group, and also they're learning how to be a good sport.
For a little older kids, Heinz suggests a pattern game called Set.
We spent the whole Christmas evening playing this game.
Another favorite to build memory.
This is an oldie but a goodie. I still like Simon.
Finally, don't overlook the value of pretend play. From dolls to dress-up clothes, Dr. Kits to cash registers, it all helps fan the flames of imagination. Now, you can find a list of these sneaky educational toys and many more on the health page at clickondetroit.com. And also a huge thanks to the Doll Hospital and Toy Soldier Shop in Berkeley. Obviously, they are a fun place to shop.
That's one of my favorite places because they help you in terms of what age you're looking for.
And it is funny how much, when they are learning something, I think they stay with those toys, oddly enough, longer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's something that, I mean, even as you were watching it, you remembered some of the toys that you played with when you were kids. So, yeah.
I like the memory ones. Those are fun.
Yeah, especially those that help develop those kind of skills and the memories. Yeah.
That's exactly
it.
it.
All right, great. Thanks, Doc. Well, let's bring in Bernie. You're going
memory
down memory lane here as well?
All for it, yeah. Anything in memory that we help at this point, sure.